Before Scarface, movie criminals came with rules, codes, families, guilt when the music swelled. Then Tony Montana showed up with a habit and an attitude, and Hollywood never looked the same. This is how three men, Brian De Palma, Al Pacino, and Oliver Stone, accidentally built the most controversial crime epic of the 80s and rewired what movies could show, say, and sell. Quick heads up, this story discusses drug use and violence. Early 80s crime movies still lived in the shadow of The Godfather, nobility inside brutality, blood with table manners. Meanwhile, America's reality didn't match the fantasy. Miami was turning into the unofficial cocaine capital, cash flooding in, cartel wars spilling out, headlines that made movie violence look polite. If Hollywood wanted to feel current, the formula had to break. The plan was simple. Take the immigrant rises and falls skeleton from the 1932 Scarface and update it for an America addicted to more. Enter the trio. Brian De Palma, the stylist who makes violence feel psychological. Al Pacino, a method lifer hunting his next unhealthy obsession. Oliver Stone, a writer who'd seen enough of the drug world up close to make the script feel like embedded journalism. They kept the bones, immigrant hunger, meteoric rise, fatal hubris, but swapped prohibition for cocaine and Chicago for Miami's melting pot. Suddenly, this wasn't a history lesson. It felt like tomorrow's front page. Everyone remembers the motel with the chainsaw. Here's the trick. You don't actually see the worst of it. De Palma locks you in that room with sound, reaction, and implication, and lets your imagination do the damage. Restraint becomes a weapon. People swore they saw everything. They didn't. That's why it still crawls under your skin. Cocaine isn't just a product in Scarface. It's the theology. It's Tony's economy, his identity, his ritual, ambition ground into powder and inhaled like belief. Where most gangster films flirt with redemption, a final lesson, a flicker of conscience, Scarface slams the door. No apologies, no exit ramp, just powder, paranoia, and a pile of bodies. The immigrant anger lands differently too. This isn't the polite, please accept me arc. This is, you promised me everything and sold me nothing. That fury turned Tony into a mirror for anyone who felt shut out of the American dream. The film ignited real-world fire. Besides the ratings board's adults-only threat, Cuban-American advocacy groups protested, seeing the portrayal as damaging and stereotypical. This collision of art and politics deepened Scarface's infamy, becoming more than just a film rating tug-of-war. It was cultural contention. Opening numbers? Fine, not a sensation. Scarface wasn't just controversial, it was radioactive. Critics recoiled at its violence, profanity, and perceived glorification of criminal excess. The MPAA slapped it with an X rating. Even after cuts, it barely scraped by with an R. Yet voices like Roger Ebert defended the excess as essential, a raw, unflinching portrait of self-destruction. In the end, controversy didn't bury Scarface. It crowned it. The outrage became the marketing. But its second life was already loading. Television neutered it. Home video liberated it. Fans could pause the motel scene, rewind the monologues, study De Palma's moves like game tape. By the time the anniversary editions dropped, Scarface had mutated from movie to ritual. You didn't just watch it, you learned it. Hip-hop didn't just like Scarface, it recruited it. Rappers lifted the language and the logic. Tony Montana as the patron saint of no-permission ambition. Mixtapes, lyrics, nicknames, wardrobe, the white suits, the world is yours mentality. The film's vocabulary became shorthand for hustle, risk, and the bill that always comes due. Scarface's echoes ripple far beyond hip-hop. The game Grand Theft Auto, Vice City essentially built a virtual Miami homage, pixelating Tony's world. Dorm rooms plastered posters as badges of relentless drive. Scarface transformed into an operating system, shaping image and identity beyond cinema. Here's what Scarface changed, beyond the memes. First, censorship brinkmanship became a form of flex. Fighting ratings wasn't just damage control, it was part of the narrative. Second, the anti-hero stopped apologizing. No moral exit ramp required. This blueprint shaped prestige TV's darkest figures. Third, setting became prophecy. Miami wasn't wallpaper, it was destiny. Fourth, the afterlife of a movie lives at home. Missing the theatrical moment doesn't kill a legend, it can build one in living rooms. Here's the uncomfortable part. A lot of people who love Scarface love it for the wrong reasons, and the movie counts on that. the bravado, the quotable rage, the visual flex. It's all designed to seduce you before it indicts you. That's why it lingers. The film knows the audience wants to be Tony until the exact second Tony becomes impossible to be. That flip is the lesson. In the end, Scarface isn't just a crime story. It's the template for every anti-hero who refuses to learn a lesson. Every rise and fall arc that skips the redemption. Every story that chooses brutal honesty over comfortable lies. You don't have to agree with the message to feel the impact. You just have to admit that after Tony, the rules changed forever.